Hello. This is how to draw furry style, and this part is the style exploration lesson. I've been drawing since I was 5, but I still don't have a photographic memory. Not many people do. Sometimes I draw from imagination, and I get sort of what I come up with whenever I draw a fursona is pretty simple. I mean, I like it. It's just like a forward head view of my character. So let's actually draw one using ref. So you should be consuming a lot of art and trying to find art styles that you like. I like to display a huge amount of styles on screen while I'm drawing. Usually it'll be a few that I like the style of, and then a few that I like the kind of like coloring or the execution of, or basically how it was done. It's like what are parts I like or dislike would be a good thing to kind of think about. For furry art, I try to always have a real life ref as well. It's difficult to cartoonify things unless you're looking at the real life version. So for this, I'm going to look at a wolf and probably an Arctic fox. And I'll work on my character from there because my character is a mix of both. Before we do any sort of like style exploration where we're looking at other artists, I would have to note that you should never rip off art. You should never steal poses. No tracing except for ink, pencil, or color practice, or unless stated by the artist. So that's like if the artist is having a contest, or if the artist doesn't mind if people draw their characters, etc. And then the last point I would want to make here is that some people have something called close species, or designs that they came up with that they do not allow to be copied. So if you are using another artist for inspiration, please make sure that they do not have like a closed species, and do not completely rip off what their character is. And I'll show you that right now. All right, and then these are kind of the Arctic foxes that I was looking at. You see that they've got like these little tiny like pin-size ears. All right, so for these, if I like them, I'm just gonna add them to like my photos. Same for wolves here. Looking for like a good photo that shows like all of the wolf would be helpful. I like this one because you can see its neck, and since we're gonna be drawing a headshot, we're gonna be drawing down to the neck. All right. Alright, so I got a wolf here. And a fox here. Alright, so this is going to be the drawing that I base off of real life. So what you notice most about the Arctic fox is that it's a circle. It's basically a little circle. And I don't know if you're kind of a beginner, but most of what you do with like cartoon style art is kind of divide the face. So this is our circle, this is our face, this is like where the middle of it is, that's the top. And you just sort of go from there, like picking out the shapes. Like you also notice that this is like a circle, these are like little triangles, and you sort of like piece it out like that. Obviously, if you're doing other types of art, you do different things. But I found that this is kind of the fastest way. And even already, I messed up a little bit by making it a little bit too big and a little bit too high. Sometimes you fall into different habits with drawing that you have to sort of break. So what's cool about this is that you can notice some subtle things that you might have missed. Like if you look at, if you look at kind of what's going on here, he's got these little indentations that are actually kind of cool. Might be a good thing to sort of add to your character, maybe make bigger or different colors. It's just a cool thing. It also looks like the mouth extends pretty far back here. And this is going to be like the circumference of the head. You don't really want to trace on top of photos either. Any kind of tracing, you lose a lot of like your personality in it. You really want to try and use it as rough, you know? Just take the details from it and interpret them the way that you see them. So, as you can see, like, for this particular little face, I even decided to go ahead and make it a little pointy on the sides, even though the image is not like that. But I like that. We're working on a headshot, so for now we're just going to do some head shapes. Alright, so for the wolf. You can see that already the ruff is pretty pointy. So let me make this just a little bit smaller. Alright, so for the wolf, we're going to start with a circle too. This one's slightly turning to the side though. So that's its head. This is the direction he's kind of turning. So when you draw these lines, you sort of base them on like what direction the head is. And you sort of try and figure it out as like a sphere. So basically you have the head direction, and then you build off of that. I usually like to start with the nose just because it kind of like pinpoints where everything should go. It's kind of like a signifier, and then you can just draw the mouth, the muzzle, like all that stuff sort of based on it. This guy even has some complicated ears that are kind of moving in the same direction. Oh, once again, I made the nose really big. So, wolf ears are actually like much smaller than what you would see like in a fursona or anywhere else. So it's kind of like my rough. So we're getting some of our like chops in with this. What's cool is that if you look at the wolf, you can also see where like your headshot might end. Headshots are only really supposed to be the head, but you don't want it to just be a head floating in space most of the time. You kind of want it to have a little bit going on. So it sort of helps to look at the wolf because you can see like their head is sort of delineated by like this ruff here, like this extra fur. So you can see where you'd have a headshot. All right, so we have all the test art that we finished. Let's just put that off to the side, maybe make it smaller using our transform tool. So what I'm going to do next is check out some of the other art that's out there. I like this one. So for my character, I have a saber tooth. It's just something special that I like to put in my drawings. So I'm gonna try and find some photos of a saber tooth. And this can go for other things too. Like if you have a character that has, I don't know, maybe like elongated ears or something, it might be good and try to, get some reference. This one's like even more difficult to get reference because it's, saber teeth don't really exist anymore except in rare occasions on certain animals. Let's see, I don't really want to gather too much of like cartoony ref just because I don't want to be copying off other people's work, but I think this actually sort of helps. I like a lot of the stuff on this particular image. And it's always good to go back. And follow whatever artist that you find on here. This one is Nekojima on Tumblr. And just basically, follow them. You like their artwork, it's a good thing to just be looking out for. It's good to just support other artists. Okay, so what did I like about this one? I like that the fangs were kind of long. I like that they're doing sort of a cat eye thing here. And that's kind of what they're doing. It's like an eye with like a sharp pupil. And that's cool. I like that. I don't know if I'll use it for my character, but it's cool to kind of see. I also really like the way that they drew ears. They're sort of like angular, which is kind of nice. They also have like a really elongated jaw, which I really like. Also, it really works the best when you have these pen settings. You really want a nice crisp line. And for me, I don't really like using stabilizing when I'm sketching because the line doesn't move as fast. And it just sort of bothers me out. For this one, I think I liked more of like the color style. So I think I might use something similar. They're doing sort of like a soft shading mixed with looks like a possibly blurry line. And then normally I would also bring in some reference of stuff that I've drawn for this character before, because I have drawn her before. But this time I'm just gonna go forward with like the lesson and sort of go into how I come up with the character, because I don't think it would be super helpful to bring her in. Well, actually, yeah, let's do that. This is kind of how I normally draw her. It's a little bit more you know, a cutesy style than what I kind of want to do with this one, but that's going to help me remember some key points of her design. Okay, so this is when we're going to get to the design of the head. So yeah, we have some like good good things going on. I really like how some of these ears are going. A little different than how I originally drew her ears. So let's start with the circle here. And let's see, I'm looking at like my wolf ref now. I can see that like the ears kind of start mid-back. And I think I'm going to have her facing to the side a little bit. And that was me just trying out with kind of an ear. Let's start with our structure first. Okay, nice. And for me, sometimes I like to just block in how big it'll be. I liked what was going on with what the wolf had, so I'm going to kind of go with that and have it sort of be like a headshot that stops at the neck. As always, the nose is going to be hovering pretty close to where the center of the face is. I also made the ruff a little bit bigger because I'm like going based off this. And then that I'm taking from there. The muzzle I might make like a little bit longer than what it would look like on an Arctic fox. Before I forget, let me pull out the saber-tooth ref too. What's interesting about this is that saber-tooth actually start like in the back of the jaw, which I didn't really realize. So I'm gonna make that small while I'm not really using it. And back to drawing our main person. And get back to drawing our main person here. Alright, so I'm sort of happy with that. And what you want to do is kind of have the mouth curve. You want to be working in like sharp curves. I also kind of want, okay, even like that. Figure out the shape for the eyes. I kind of want it to be cartoony, but not as cartoony as the one below. So what happens in your 3/4 view is that you want to think of it as like an orb. And you know, this is the darker side, that's a light side, and this is like in between. So something on the orb that's here is facing you more than something here. So you only want to show like a side of it, because technically it's starting to turn. It's like turning around kind of. So that's kind of the idea for this. You're only seeing the side of the eye. The reason why you do like 3/4 is usually because it's a little bit more appealing than just like a straight on. Like if you look at this, straight on is just kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit intense. Like even this one is it's very intense, but at the same time, like the way they did the style, it really goes together pretty well. And then that's like a side view. This one I also did like a 3/4 view. But anyway, let's go with like that's not really the style that I'm going to do the eye. It's going to be a mix between that and this. And also for this, I just like making the ears bigger than they're supposed to be. It just looks really cute to me, and I like it. Okay, so I drew those fangs kind of based on this. And that's kind of like our basis for our headshot. Very much drawing from like the wolf, the real life wolf. And to be honest, a lot of the details here I didn't end up really using, which is also pretty good. If you've drawn your character before, it's always good to try and use that as ref as well. She also has like a stripe here and different colors at the top of the ears. And it's good to like delineate like where things are. There's also a hole in one of the teeth. If it helps, you can figure out the center line of kind of where your eyes are by drawing a curve between them. Because what would happen is, so this is your face, you're drawing a line here, it curves with the nose, and then up through the center here, and that's kind of more of your center line. It's not perfect, but it does help you figure out where your shines should go. And when I'm drawing the eyebrows, what I like to do is just try and follow the curvature of the line that I used on the top part of the eye. That's for like a happy expression. Obviously, if you're doing other expressions, you're gonna shape your eyebrows differently. So that's basically her. I might make this a little bit thinner just because she's supposed to be like an Arctic fox. And already I'm starting to like this. So I'm gonna just put all of the ref into its own folder. And you can just do this in Photoshop by making a new folder at the bottom in the same way and just dropping everything in. I'm just gonna do it manually. I don't really want to merge anything because, I don't know, don't really need to. And then this guy is gonna be larger. And so that's kind of how you do some of the designing. I try really hard not to use other people's artwork as basis and try really hard to come from life. But really, if you want to start, figuring out things like muzzles and like the way that your mouth is going to work, it's good to just continuously redraw art that you see and art that you like. And also just attempt to draw as much from nature as you can. But yeah, that's how you start out using ref. The next lesson we're going to be talking about finishing and coloring this particular head and maybe doing some simple backgrounds.